Shalom, shalom to all my fellow brothers and sisters out there in the name of Messiah Yeshua HaMashiach. All praises to him and our Father Yahweh, the Elohim of Yisrael. Um, it's me again, Damian Powell from YeshuaSavesAll.com. I'm a servant of Yeshua. And today, my fellow brothers and sisters in Yeshua, I want to talk about uh, what's important. Did you just eat pork and not know it? The hidden ingredients lurking in food. And after last week's broadcast and blog, I felt this would be a good time just to follow up on that, being that we talked about the dietary laws and how they pertain to us as believers today. I want to talk about um, certain products like pork and other abominations that are hidden in our food that people are unaware of, and is hidden in cosmetics and lipsticks and all these other things. So even when people are saying that they're eating according to the dietary laws, according to the Torah, that they are indirectly doing it without even knowing it. But before I get into some of the products, I just want to touch base on one of the issues that we discussed last week in the broadcast about eating meat sacrificed to an idol, especially when you know it has been. So when you see halal meat, as we discussed last week, stamped all over food and in a restaurant, do not eat it. Now, everyone is familiar with the name Lucifer. But if you read the original Aramaic Hebrew translation, Isaiah, Yeshayahu, chapter 14, verse 12 says, "How you have fallen from the heavens, O Halel, Helel. Oh, how you have fallen from the heavens, O Halel, son of the morning. You have been you have been cut down to the ground. You have laid low the Gentiles." So it's Halel and not Lucifer. And when you look at Strong's Concordance, number 1966, you see that the word origin is halal. So one of the names of Satan, which is Halal, is linked to the word halal. So this just gives you other reasons why to stay away from meat sacrificed to another deity. Okay. Now, on to hidden foods. Cheese. Cheese is a very popular item, and everybody loves cheese, right? But you have to be careful. When you read the label on cheese, you will notice that there will be listed enzymes or rennet. Now, many cheeses are made with animal enzymes, which are used to thicken the milk during the first stages of the cheese making process. Though some cheese brands use cow enzymes, you have to do some deep research to find out which kind of enzymes your cheese brand uses. And to be honest, most companies that list enzymes, instead of listing which animal it came from, usually means that it comes from a pig source. Like, for example, most pizza places that you go out to a restaurant, they buy cheese in bulk because they want to make pizzas and they want to make as many pizzas as they can to be cost effective so they can make money because they want to mass produce the pizzas. So it will cost them more to buy cheese that uses vegetarian or microbial, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, enzymes. Um, so pretty much you're going to want to ask the company what kind of enzymes they are using in their cheese. Okay, is it going to be cow enzymes or is it pig enzymes? And then you have rennet, that is the inner lining of the fourth stomach of the calves and other ruminants. So be sure to check that it is not coming from an unclean source. Look for enzymes and look for rennet. Okay, you want to figure out whether it's coming from a clean or an unclean animal. It's one thing that the Ruach was always showing me uh, be careful of the cheese that you're eating, because a lot of us just think that it's just cheese, but you have to look at the enzymes that are going into it. So just a little deeper than we all thought. Uh, your products like Doritos, Cheetos, Welch's grape jelly, Dunkin' Donuts, Crest toothpaste, McDonald's apple pies, gummy bears contain pig enzymes. Now, you also have to look out for your flavored with powdered cheese on chips. So if you see the powdered cheese on the chips and like macaroni cheese from Kraft, then you have to be careful and look to see what source that it comes from. Again, because it can contain casein, whey, or animal derived enzymes, and most of the times it's going to come from a pork source. Now, if you look on the Frito Lay website that makes all these Doritos and cheeses and everything like that, Cheetos, they say that their products do not contain pork, although they cannot guarantee that the products that they sell in other countries do not contain pork. So I'm just putting it out there so you're aware of what's going on. I will contact the company. I know a lot of companies can be deceiving when it comes to their product listing, because they don't want to lose sales. Let's be honest. But anyway, I will be cautious. And as they said before, as they said on their website, that the products that they sell, the Doritos and Cheetos that they sell to other countries, they can't guarantee that they do not contain pig enzymes or pork products in any way. Um, and if no for no other reason, if you look on the bag of the back of Doritos, for example, you look at their ingredients, it contains many artificial colorings and flavorings. And research has shown that that yellow lake dyes like yellow 5 are linked to ADHD in children. Excuse me. So if pork doesn't concern you, for let's say if you're a believer in the Torah, a believer in Yeshua, and you uphold Torah, then yeah, it should definitely be a concern to you. But for people who are like, well, it doesn't matter to me, I'm gonna eat it anyway. How about your children with the artificial dyes and everything that are in it, especially yellow lake and yellow 5s? They are linked to ADHD in your children and hyperactivity. So look at that. Bread. Bread is another one. Loaves of bread from the grocery store. And everybody goes out there and buys Wonder Bread and Marita bread and all that, because it's quick bread. It's for quick food. And breadsticks, bagels, and things of that nature. But that bread that is purchased from the store, even bakeries, are made using a dough conditioner called L-cysteine. And L-cysteine is certain proteins that are gathered from the hair and follicles of animals, including pigs. Did you catch that? L-cysteine is certain proteins gathered from the hair and follicles of animals, including pigs. Some sources say that L-cysteine contains human hair as well. So be cautious. Make sure that you read your labels. And if you are unsure, always call the company. So they're not going to come out and tell you contains pig hair or pig follicles or human hair. They're going to give you a scientific name, L-cysteine. Okay. Fast food grease. Be careful on that if you go out to eat at restaurants, because if they fry their food in lard, which I know McDonald's used to do when they first came out, lard comes from pig fat. So um, if you are running around eating Jiffy Bread corn mix, for example, Jiffy Bread corn mix contains lard. And as I explained, lard comes from pig. And a lot of people don't know that. Also, look out for words like collagen, which is the skin and connective tissues from the animal. and it's contained in Altoids, gummy candies, and Starburst. And then you have a word named keratin, also known as PHK, which comes from pig hairs or feathers, hooves, claws, or horns. Another one is marshmallows. Marshmallows and jello contain gelatin. And when you see the word gelatin, most times it's going to come from a pig source. And gelatin is made from the bones, cartilage, tendons, and skin of the pig. Now, if you are going to avoid that, especially following Torah, look for gelatin that is comes from a vegetable source. They do have vegetable alternatives, and most companies are going to be proud to tell you where the gelatin comes from. They'll say gelatin, and then they'll put in parentheses bovine, which is a cow. So most companies are going to be proud to tell you that it comes from a pig because they want you to know it's going to be a great selling point for them. But if it just says gelatin, most times it's coming from a pig source. Okay. And also on your fish oils and things of that nature, it's going to contain gelatin. And if it just says gelatin, like I said, it's coming from a pig source. So then again, you are taking a supplement thinking that you are eating clean or kosher, but it contains pig. Also, when you read your ingredients, make sure you look out for the word mono and diglycerides, okay? Mono and diglycerides are food additives used as an emulsifier for commercial foods. They derive it from fatty acid called E471, which is produced from vegetable oils, although animal fats are sometimes used and cannot be completely excluded as being present in the product. So they don't even know. You're not even sure. When you see mono and diglycerides, is it coming from vegetable sources or is it coming from the pig? This additive, mono and diglycerides, is an additive found in breads, ice cream, margarine. Like I can't believe it's not butter. Some peanut butter, Mission tortilla chips, Nestle cocoa, country crock, blue bonnet, some gum and shortening, whipped toppings, marshmallows, and some beverages. So as you can see, it's everywhere. Be careful what you pick up and what you eat. And if you are unsure, make sure you call the manufacturer to determine if they are using a vegetable or an animal fatty acid. And as we know, like I said, most times that animal fatty acid is going to come from an unclean source. Another one I just want to throw out there as a bonus, for example, is the word called carrageenan carrageenan. And that is just another word for seaweed. And seaweed grows on the rocks in the water, which makes it an algae and not a plant. The rabbinical sources say that it's a kosher plant to eat. They say it's a sea vegetable. However, algae is not a plant and it's not a vegetable. Okay. And when you read Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, Yahweh says that we are to eat every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth that he gives us for food. Algae does not produce seed. Like I said, it grows on a rock. So David's taken the word seaweed and gave it as a scientific name, carrageenan, to throw people off. Okay. Another one to avoid just artificial man-made foods, as I talked about before with xanthan gum, which arrives from the black rot that arrives on plants when a plant is decaying. You see the black on there. That's what they use to put into xanthan gum. Corn syrup. I'm Elohim willing. I'm gonna do a whole broadcast on corn syrup soon and all the side effects from it. Red 40, yellow 5, which I explained earlier, which causes ADHD and hyperactivity in kids. Blue 1, sodas and most cereals. Yahweh gave us real food to eat, and not man-made science projects. Okay, and our bodies cannot even identify what most of these artificial items are, and it will make you sick over time. And that's where a lot of diseases and sickness come from. And like studies have shown that Americans are overweight and they're sick. They're eating food that is not even natural. Okay, and another one that I wanted to speak of about that is a lot of red candies. A lot of red candies that are produced by these companies, like Natural Red 4 and E120, for example, they contain a dye made from the extracts of dried bodies of a Coccus cacti bug, listed as a carmine, or the cochineal carcaminic acid. Now, this is the scale insect, which is a shield-like scale. Okay, these are six-legged bugs known as crawlers. Okay, so Yahweh tells us in Leviticus, Wa'ikra 11:20, all flying insects that creep on all fours is an abomination to you. Only these you do eat of every flying insect that creeps on all fours, those which have jointed legs above their feet, which they leap on the earth. These of them you do eat, the locust after its kind, the destroying locust after its kind, the cricket after its kind, and the grasshopper after its kind. But all other flying insects which have 4 feet is an abomination to you. So these bugs that are used as the red dye in your artificial candy, the carcamil coccus bug, become immobile when they mature, and their legs are no longer visible. And so that means they don't even leap. So they have more than 4 legs because they have six, and when they get older, the legs disappear or they become immobile, so they don't even leap. And they don't have jointed legs above their feet, therefore they don't qualify as a grasshopper, a locust, or a cricket. Okay, these bugs are similar to aphids, and the carcaminic acid that they produce that is used in the food is what that bug uses as a defense compound against predators. Okay, so it's a defense mechanism that they use, kind of like a octopus squirts out black ink. So companies boil that ammonia, which is unsafe in itself. So that red dye that they are using in your red candies is coming from an unclean bug. So beware of that. Even vitamins, for example, that are being passed off as whole foods are synthetic as well. For example, vitamin C is listed as absorbic acid, which is derived from GMO corn. And absorbic acid is derived from GMO corn, and it is only an isolated version of vitamin C itself. Vitamin C contains a full spectrum of vitamins like rutin that is found in elderberries and apples and quercetin. So again, absorbic acid is a synthetic form of vitamin C. Even the so-called whole food supplements like mega foods, for example, they use a yeast called Cerevisiae, or forgive me on my pronouncing, Cerevisiae. It's a yeast that they put into vitamins passed off as real food. Okay, so real whole food vitamins are going to use uh, freeze-dried fruits and vegetables and not a synthetic form. It's just a whole lot of things to look out for. I'm just giving you some extra things that are out there. And like I said, your fish oil, for example, if you're taking cod liver oil, salmon oil, uh, what's the other one? Herring and anchovies, especially if you're buying from like Walmart or things of that nature. If you look on the back of that bottle, it's going to say contains anchovy, herring, or whatever that fish may be, and then it's going to say gelatin. And that gelatin, if it doesn't specify what gelatin that is, like bovine, then it's coming from the pig. Be careful. Another thing to look out for is sodium sterile lactate, which is a cheap ingredient used to increase the shelf life of food products because it keeps mold away. Dough conditioning also requires this ingredient, which makes gluten in bread stronger. Vegetable oils are said to be used for sodium stearyl lactate, but the use of animal fat, such as pork, cannot be guaranteed. Also known as sodium stellate, sodium 2 stearyl lactate. So you just have to be careful because the companies aren't even guaranteeing their own products. Now, another one that I wanted to point out that I know a lot of people may not be aware of is beer and wine. Okay, majority of beer and wine use companies use this thing called isinglass, which is a gelatin-like substance collected from the bladders of freshwater fish like a sturgeon, and it is used to clarify the alcohol. Other agents that are commonly used to clarify that alcohol or that wine or that beer is egg white, albumin, gelatin from a pig, casein, and things of that nature. So you have to be careful because they have to purify the alcohol, taking all the unwanted things out of the alcohol, so you get just your wine or your beer. So they have to run it through something, the bladder of a freshwater fish or pig. So you have to be careful. When I was drinking alcohol, which I don't do anymore, I would go out there and look for a vegan wine. For example, there was a Frey wine where they clarified their alcohol through by using clay, for example, and no animal was used at all. And I bring this up because sturgeon is used, and the rabbinical sources say that it is kosher to use, like for a Manischewitz wine. But a lot of people say that the sturgeon is an unclean fish. Okay, so it's a debatable topic about that, and I want to do another broadcast about clean and unclean fish on another broadcast. But just to touch on it briefly, the sturgeon, for example, they say that in its when he is young, he has scales on him. He has fins and scales, but the older he gets, the scales fall off of him. Okay, so therefore it makes him susceptible to parasites and things of that nature. So does he really qualify as a clean fish when he is mature and doesn't have scales on him? It's debatable. So I just want to throw that out there. Um, a lot of people don't know that many canned refried beans, when you go out there and get refried beans, they are made with hydrogenated lard. And as I said earlier, we know lard comes from pigs. So definitely when you go to a Mexican restaurant, be leery of buying your refried beans to go along with your burrito or your taco, because they willingly admit that it contains lard. So you are indirectly or unknowingly eating lard. Okay, so be careful. Some foods with vanilla flavoring, like vanilla substitutes, contain alcoholic beverages, puddings, ice cream, candy, chewing gums, might contain castoreum, castoreum, which is beaver anal secretion. Okay, so when you see vanilla flavoring or vanilla flavoring substitutes that are contained in your puddings, ice creams, or candy or chewing gums, be careful because, as I said, it contains castoreum, and that comes from beaver anal secretion. Now, beavers are already an unclean animal for us to eat anyway, but the secretions of the coming from the anal of the beaver should raise some eyebrows within itself. Um, I wanted to also talk about artificial or natural flavorings. The FDA says that a natural flavor is one that is derived from a spice, fruit, fruit juice, vegetable juice, edible yeast, herb, bark, bud, root, leaf, or similar plant material, meat or seafood, poultry, eggs, dairy products, or fermentation products. Basically, a natural flavor is one that is derived from a plant or a animal. All right. So when you look on the back of a package and you see contains natural flavoring, check to make sure that it's coming from a plant or an animal source. Because if it is coming from an animal source, then which animal did they use? Which is the topic that I'm talking about today. Um, where is it coming from? Is it a pig? Is it a horse? Is it a camel? Is it anything that's an abomination for followers of Yeshua to eat? You have to be careful when you just see natural flavoring because that's how they list it. And if they use seafood, then what seafood did they use? Most times when people refer to seafood, they are referring to the crustaceans of the ocean, like shrimp, crab, lobster, oyster, scallops, things of that nature, which we know are unclean for followers of Yeshua to eat because they go against Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy 14. So I would definitely check with the company before consuming these products that say natural flavoring because they willingly admit that it comes from either a plant source, an animal source, or a seafood source. So be careful. And also, uh, artificial flavoring, as we know, is artificial. It comes in from a laboratory, from some scientists. But I just thought it was interesting that according to this guy named Daniel Gritzer, who's a culinary director, he brought up the point that the word artificial comes from the word artifice or artifice, however you pronounce it. And it is implied deception and trickery practically built right into it. So the root word of artificial is deception. So I just thought that was really interesting for people to know. So anyway, that's all that I have. I just felt that it was relevant to talk about this, being that, as I said last week, we talked about uh, the dietary laws are binding for us as believers in Yeshua, and that we should definitely keep the dietary laws. They are not done away with. Okay, and now for people who are eating kosher and obeying the dietary laws of the Torah, just be aware that you may be eating something unclean and not even knowing it. We have to do our research because companies are not going to come out and tell you that they are feeding you something that is unclean. They're going to use deceptive terms and things of that nature. So be careful. I pray that this has been a blessing to you as always. Please share this with anybody who is unaware with it, especially other brothers and sisters in Yeshua. Again, may our Father Yahweh Barak bless you in Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Again, subscribe and share. Thank you again, and I will talk to you later, Elohim willing. Amen.